I got the Kindle versions, but yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay.
But
Well, that's good to know because I kind of like for cookbooks. I sometimes like to just be able to pull it up on my iPad.
Yeah. But the measurements are all in.
Right. Okay.
So I'm like, I want to get a better scale that actually has like the bowl and everything. And
I have one of those.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day,
big one though.
Oh, I don't know how. Yeah, mine's sort of more of
like you got to do like, when you're making a bread, and it's like 6 cups and whatever that is in middle.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever.
I don't know if they still sell one, but I have a scale that Pampered Chef used to sell a long time ago. That when I was a consultant. So, but I don't know where it is right now. But I know I own one.
Yeah, I mean, I own one too, and I think a bowl would probably fit on there. I don't know what its limits are though.
Right.
And really, I was just reading a kitchen. KITCHN.com.
The thing I got you hooked on and I almost never look at.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I look at them all the time.
Well, the thing is, like, I get so much email that if I don't notice it so I can star it, or I don't look at it often enough for it to get in my important, I miss stuff constantly.
You can set up filters.
Well, yeah, but can you filter something to be important?
Mm-hmm. You can do all sorts of crap.
Oh, I spend so much time training.
I don't know if you can do it within the Google app on your phone, when you're in the Google on a computer, then you've got way more tools that you can.
Oh yeah. I mean, I set up filters for folders or labels or whatever.
You can
all the
do
time,
labels and folders, and I think you can star things important. You can star them as unread and move them, and all sorts of crap.
So I did finally figured out that I could change. Like there are some different ways that you can set up sort of your landing page. So I do have an important unread section, an important read section, a starred section, and then just everything else after that, which has helped enormously with being able to use stars more effectively. So, because there are things where I don't really want to train Google to think that they're important, but when I see them, I star them so that I remember to look at them before I file them away. But,
I just remembered that, I was going to write down these things as we were talking, and I haven't been.
Oh, I was like, tappity, tap, tap, tap. It's not quite that tappity, but, yeah. Gmail has stuff. I don't know if I've ever noticed that it could filter to...
Yeah, I think they've added it.
I mean, okay. Because I set up label filters constantly. I think there used to be a limit on how many of those you could have. If there better not be one anymore, because I've long exceeded it.
And with the new Gmail interface, you can now connect Asana to it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that would probably be more helpful if I actually used Asana for anything.
Let's see.
It's really hard when I can't do stuff. Like, if I think of something during the workday, there are all these things that I can't do. That's why I'm going to start carrying around a little new notebook that is coming from JetPens today, where I can actually at least have a place I can jot down the thoughts for later, because my planner isn't always the right place for some of that stuff. But not being able to just go add a task or something like that whenever I want.
So I just went in and did a quick filter, and it says when a message arrives that matches this search, you can skip the inbox, archive it, mark as read, star it, apply the label, forward it, delete it, never send it to spam, always mark it as important, never mark it as important, categorize and choose a category, or also apply filter to matching conversations.
Okay, so it's much more advanced than it used to be. So
yep.
They used to tell us about changes like that.
I know, right?
Now they just want me to switch to that new. I did not. Well, actually, I did temporarily switch to the new inbox thing where it would split off things into different things like promotions, and I don't remember exactly what their categories were, but I hated it. I really need to see everything all in one place.
All right, so let's see. I wrote down, we talked about knitting. What was your pattern?
I'm talking about crocheting, actually.
Oh my God, Bert, what did you just do?
Yeah.
Usually it's the other way around. I'm knitting. Excuse me.
I've been trying to actually crochet more, so it's kind of worked out that this thing that I agreed to do, I don't have a lot of time.
What's the pattern called?
I'm making it work with crochet. Cedar mittens.
Cedar mittens.
The most recent issue of Interweave Crochet.
All right. And then I talked about a bunch of crap.
Congratulations to Kelly, who just subscribed to Interweave Crochet this week after seeing the latest issue that I brought to knitting and crocheting.
Did you figure out what you were drinking? You knew it was a chai, but do you know what kind of chai?
I don't know what kind of chai.
It's a chocolate chai.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's
Gmail
very
filters.
creamy.
Did you watch Dumpling yet?
Well, no, I have to read the book first.
Oh, that's right.
I have a rule. I have the book in my house now, so I can read it. I need to finish reading. What am I reading right now? It's called Severance. I think the author's name is Ma Ling or Ling Ma, one of those. Sorry. It was a book of the month pick for December, and I've heard it described or seen it described as apocalyptic satire. I'm not exactly sure how it's satire, but it's definitely apocalyptic. But it's not necessarily like I read World War Z a few years ago. It's not like that. It's different. I mean, there definitely is like an epidemic type thing that happens, but it's more about this particular person's story rather than like the epidemic as a whole or whatever. It's really how it affects her and whatever. But it's interesting, but I only have, I don't know, like 40 pages left. It's a relatively short book. So I'm like, I have to finish that before I can do anything else. And then I'm also trying to get to a certain number of books for my Goodreads challenge. And my reading has really fallen off this fall in particular, which is weird because usually for a lot of people they read more when the weather gets colder, but I've been having knitting slumps, reading slumps, all kinds of slumps this year. So
I'm just a slump, so
wow. So I'm trying to sort of fit in some stuff, and so there was a podcast that I listened to mention, one of the people mentioned a book that was a pretty short book, and it just turned out I was on my way to the library at the time, so I got the book, and so I want to read that because it's short. Well, it also sounds interesting, but and then I think I'm going to read Dumpling, and then I can watch the Netflix movie.
All right. Well, I enjoyed it.
Good.
There was lots of Dolly references, which was fabulous. Yeah. I should read the book. I think that's on my list to do now.
Yeah. You can read the books after watching movies and TV shows, but I like to make sure that I have a personal preference, and I realize that not everybody feels this way, but that I want to make sure that I can experience the book on its own without influence as much as possible. Right. I mean, I got the movie tie-in edition, so the girl's face is in my face. So I'm not going to be able to not have that image in my mind when I'm reading the book. But I try to be not as influenced as possible by things before I read them. So
what was fun is at the end of the movie, the author does make a cameo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So and apparently there's a sequel to the book. So
yes.
I don't know if it's a sequel or a series where it's a second series. I have no idea what the plan is, but so good to know. If it's good, then.
And Ginger Minge is in it.
Ah.
That was great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm trying to think of what else we've watched or I've watched. I started watching Voltron on Netflix.
Okay.
The cartoony whatever one. Apparently it's been big, and I don't know, something about the ending, and I'm like, oh, fine, I'll start watching it again. So I started over because I was only like 3 episodes in, and then I'd stopped.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, start over. So I was doing that last night while I was sketching. Or I was masking.
Oh, okay.
Amy's dad had a birch paper that had silver foil on it, but he needed copies made because he had ran out and he couldn't buy it anymore. So she was trying to scan it for him, but anywhere where the silver foil was, when you do that on a scanner or a copier, it comes out black.
Right.
So I was like, okay, well, and he needed words added to it, like a lot. So I'm like, just give it to me. I masked out all the black spots and then put a foil overlay digitally and then put the words in. So I was doing that last night. So it was a lot of, but what was really nice is normally I would have to do that on my big computer and it would take me forever. I was able to sit here and do it with Procreate on my iPad Pro and just use my pencil, and it just was so much smoother, so much better than my old piece of crap.
Generally speaking, new pieces of crap are better than older pieces of crap. Sometimes they're not even pieces of crap.
Okay, so Amy has the iPhone 7. Indy, why don't
my
you get
pattern
that
page just skittered away onto the floor. I don't know if my leash will reach that far, but we'll find out. Oh, look, my highlighter fell too.
You can use the highlighter to grab the page and pull it over.
I could have, yes. Fortunately, the cord for this mic is very long, so I am still
we're
good
actually,
to go.
again, in the same room. Oh,
Shocking! And not in my car.
Right.
Which, so loud. Also, the entire time we were driving, I almost definitely had a bolt in one of my tires.
oh, jeez.
Which,
That's right.
that didn't affect the sound, but yeah, I have a personal belief. I don't know if anyone can back me up on this, but when my low tire light came on in my car in June when it was 80 degrees, that seemed weird. So I took it to the dealership and they're like, all the tires were a little low. Whatevs. I said, but it's 80 degrees outside. Why would that happen now? But everything was fine all summer. You know, the low tire light came on again a few weeks ago. It was in the 40s, so that still seemed weird to me. Like, my old car, the low tire light would come on, but not until it got into, like, the single digits and stuff like that. So, like, that seemed a little weird. But so many people in my life were like, oh, it's just a Honda thing. Don't worry about it. As long as your tires look fine, you're good to go. So I'm like, well, they look okay right now. So I kind of just ignored it. I did my best to ignore. I'm a worrier by nature, so it kind of was on my mind. And there's this light constantly lit up on the dashboard, so it's kind of hard to ignore. But I was trying to do my best to not be a worrywart and worry about my tires. Usually I park in a way, like I park in a very similar place most days in the parking ramp at work, where I'm always approaching my car from the driver's side. Like I'm always going that way. One day I ended up I think I left for a meeting or something and came back. And so I was parked in a totally different place and parked in the opposite side. And so when I was approaching my car at the end of a day, I noticed that the rear tire on the passenger side was really low. And so I'm like, well, that's really bad. And so I didn't have a chance right away, but you know, like a few days later, I was at my parents' house where they have a really nice air compressor, where it actually has a readout on it. Mine doesn't have that. Or it's not as granular or something. But, so I was at their house and did that. And yeah, that one tire is supposed to be 32 PSI and it was down to 18.
Oh my gosh.
So, and the other ones were all lower than they should have been as well. But, you know, whatever. Apparently it is still a Honda thing. It's just not as Honda thing as I think it is. So a few days later, I got it to the dealership. And because they'll put air in for free and, you know, whatever. So, it's just not super convenient. It's not terrible, but it's not super convenient to just stop there randomly after work. I have a lot of things going on in the evenings. So, so I went and, you know, I kind of explained this. I'm totally going to be giving some feedback. The first guy that I talked to was very condescending about the whole thing. Well, you just don't know how the system works. You know, this is, you know, I don't remember exactly how he said it, but he made it seem as though, like, you know, since your last car didn't have this, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, my last car did have that, and I had that car for 10 years. So I'm totally used to the low tire light thing. It was the same kind of car. It was a 2008 Honda Fit Sport. All I did was upgrade to the 2018 Honda Fit Sport in a different color. So, you know, same car, just newer. So I was totally used to the low tire light thing coming on. That 2008 actually did have a problem with one of the tires when I first bought it.
You would think in 10 years they'd figure out how to fix that.
Well, right. So the first car that I got, or the first Fit that I got, had an actual manufacturing issue with one of the tires. So eventually they figured that out and replaced the tire. Within the first few months that I had that car, and it never gave me any grief after that. And like I said, I had it for a full 10 years, 10 years, 1 week. And then it had some other issue that was too expensive for me to bother with. So I got a new car. But yeah, so it was like, but it's weird to me from my experience with the 10 years of the old car to have a light come on at 80 degrees or even 40 degrees. You know, that just seemed weird. And in both cases, I was on my way to work and was almost all the way there. And it's almost a 15-mile drive. It's unusual for your light to come on after your tires have been running for 10 miles. So, so these things seemed weird to me. So I took it in, described it. That guy was a little condescending. The next guy that I talked to, who actually looked at my tires, he was way nicer about the whole thing. He did explain one thing to me that is different about my new car versus my old car, which is